State Representative Brad Halbrook, along with my friends in the Illinois Freedom Caucus, and we have a special guest tonight. And so with that, guys, you know the weather has turned to fall, and which only means kind of one thing here in the nation, that in about 3 weeks, elections will be, 3 weeks from today, the polls will be closed at this time. Hopefully they're closed, but the ballot counting will then ensue, and hopefully we'll have a favorable result at the end of the evening. With that, guys, we've got a busy evening planned for you with our special guest, Shannon. And so at this time, I am going to introduce Adam Niemerg, State Representative from Dietrich, to say a few words, and we'll get started. Adam?
Folks, thanks for tuning in with us here this evening. We have another action-packed evening with you with Shannon Teresi for Comptroller. Now, folks, we don't need radical Democrats controlling our conservatism, and Shannon's going to talk about that here this evening. So happy to be with you tonight.
Excellent. Dan Caucus from Decatur, you're next up.
Good evening. Thank you, Brad. This is great to be here. We've worked on this for a couple of weeks, and this is a race that's not getting enough attention. Our comptroller has a very, very specific job, and Shannon, I'm sure you'll be getting into that as we speak. So I hope that you find this entertaining as well as informative. We hope that at the end of tonight, you'll have a better understanding of Illinois' financial position and what really needs to be done to try to get us out of the quagmire and the mess that we're in. So thanks, Brad, and let's get going.
Excellent. Chris Miller, the chairman of the Illinois Freedom Caucus. Chris?
Well, thank you, Brad. It's great to have Shannon here this evening. It's hard to imagine that there's waste, fraud, and abuse going on here in Illinois under the watchful eye of the Democrat Party. But there's one thing that I know, that when we send Shannon to Springfield, a lot of these shenanigans and things are going to get done and expediently. So we're looking forward to what happens in your administration.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Shannon Teresi, I will just give you the floor for a minute just to kind of give folks a flavor, and then I want to roll into a video to get this thing kicked off, and then we'll come back and have a little dialogue. Shannon.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Shannon Teresi, and I am running statewide for Comptroller because the state is the most corrupt and fiscally mismanaged, and we have an opportunity to put a CPA and a forensic accountant. Wouldn't it be great to actually have a forensic accountant in charge of your state's finances? I'm also certified in internal auditing, which means I'm an expert in performance audits, operational, and a government expert that can dramatically change the state and put it on the right path.
Excellent, Shannon. We're going to tee up a video here, and this is going to kind of give us a taste of what the competition's like. Here we go.
As Illinois Comptroller, Susana Mendoza is the keeper of the state's checkbook.
The man behind Mendoza is Illinois Democratic Party Chairman, House Speaker Michael Madigan.
Because of Michael J. Madigan's leadership, Illinois is an oasis of blue in a desert of red.
Mike Madigan cleared the field for you. Daniel Biss wanted that job. You got the gig. You owe him.
I, for one, am thankful to the Speaker for his leadership and for what he's done for each and every one of us.
To what extent does that compromise your independence?
You owe him.
A man who time and time again has demonstrated his passion and love for this state.
It is not the job of the comptroller to serve as a checks and balance on the legislative branch.
You owe him.
Someday our children will learn of his contributions to this state, but now more than ever, we need him to lead us again.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Where do we go from there? I think that pretty much covers it, doesn't it?
I think we're done.
There you go.
The election should be over. Shannon, welcome to our Tuesday night roundtable. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you.
As we've seen in that little clip, your opponent is in fact a direct plant by Michael Madigan. She's sworn allegiance to Mike Madigan. Mm-hmm. She's obviously been funded by Mike Madigan, and she's run our state financially just like Mike Madigan would. And that's really the big issue here, isn't it?
Absolutely. We have the person in charge of our finances that's tied to the corrupt Democrat machine. And we have an opportunity to change this and put the most qualified comptroller in Illinois history into that position. And not only is she tied to Mike Madigan, she's tied to Danny Solis. She got her career start in his ward organization. And when she ran for mayor, she got $100,000 from his ward organization, the largest donation he has made to her mayor race. He's been indicted. She got married in Ed Burke's home, and Ed Burke has been indicted. She said, even about Ed Burke, that he's the primary reason that she stands as comptroller there today is because of Ed Burke. And this needs to change. We cannot just have the corruption continue in Illinois. Illinoisans need to wake up. This is the election that we are going to change the state and put it on a proper financial path.
That's great. We have a little bit of experience with Mr. Madigan. Well, we have a lot of experience with his control of everything that's happened in Illinois for the last 30 years. Even though he's gone today, his ghost still hangs over the House, the Senate to a certain extent. And obviously here in this office, I think probably the only person that he hasn't helped put in office is Jesse White, who just happened to be there longer than he has. But he put Pritzker in office. He put his daughter in office. He put her successor in office. And he put your opponent in office. So, Brad, maybe we ought to get into the financial side of this. What do you think?
Yeah, excellent. So we're got a short video we want to play, and this talks about some of the financial wizardry that the administration wants to take victory laps about. And so let's try to roll this tape here, and then we'll come back and talk about it and expand upon that just a touch. Here we go.
And where is that $16.7 billion backlog of unpaid bills? It's gone. We now have a working accounts payable that floats between $2 and $3 billion. In fact, it was down to $1.7 billion, as you can see, at the end of August. 1.7 down from 16.7 billion. It's remarkable. Now, state vendors and social and human service providers.
Okay, Shannon.
Yeah.
Well, it is remarkable, isn't it? It's remarkable. I mean, who wouldn't?
Remarkably, go ahead.
Well, I mean, who wouldn't be proud of the fact that we've reduced from 16 billion to $1 billion? I mean, what an amazing accomplishment, right?
The opposite. We're being misled, and that's actually an understatement. Lied to the taxpayers. I mean, in the video, you see it says general fund. That's 8% of the state's overall financial operations. And she's only paying that down while increasing debt in other funds, such as even the Emergency Management Agency Fund. That created a deficit that didn't have a deficit by $50 million in that fund. Another fund was there was a general revenue account that has a $3.9 billion deficit. It's disingenuous to the taxpayers to only talk about 8% of the government's operations when the overall financial health of the state has worsened. And she is leading the charge on killing the state and lit the match as a state rep by approving unbalanced budgets.
So when you
that they would say the number, make it look better.
Yeah, and that's what she's doing. That's strictly a shell game with our taxpayer money that she's playing. Is she can't talk about the overall financial health, and she actually was talking about it when Browner was in office. She was talking about how the state is negative 126 billion in 2016, and so to put it in perspective for the everyday taxpayer and household is our children have better financial sense. If they have 20 bucks to their name, they have more money than the state of Illinois because they're negative 126 billion. Now we stand today at negative 200 billion. What that means is for generations to come, we are going to be paying this money back, and they are going to be raising taxes because they have not done the mere basics of proper budgeting. And that's another topic, is talk about J.B. Pritzker, how he's lying to the taxpayers. The truth is they do not have a balanced budget, and they are spending hand over foot our taxpayer money on fiscal mismanagement and not going to those that need it the most.
Yeah.
Thank
Excellent.
you, Shannon.
Hey,
And that's a very good point. I mentioned the word in there, tax increase. That is something that a lot of us are deeply concerned. This last budget, record budget, $46 billion that we spent, is not subject to appropriations, meaning that it must the comptroller of the state government, they must allocate these funds. So when we're looking at these bills that are not subject to appropriations, how are they going to find that money when you look at recession that we're in? It only looks like a tax hike. Could you speak to that bloated budget and the fact that federal dollars are really what did that this year?
You hit the nail on the head. It's absolutely federal COVID money. We got $185 billion, not just to the state government. That's their dirty little secret they want to keep quiet. We got to the federal government, local governments, businesses, all received federal COVID money. And as soon as they knew they were getting that money and how much, they recorded the entries. And that's what increased the bond rating and is temporarily keeping the state afloat. And even with that money, the state has gone on a financial decline year after year under J.B. Pritzker and Susana Mendoza, and it has continued for 20 years. It is time to say enough's enough. We don't want to be the worst state in the nation in every financial indicator. We are going to continue to have foreclosures after foreclosures in the state, and we have seen now we are the most overall highest tax state in the nation, with 32% increases on income statement increases. And then for corporations, they've had 35% increases on taxes. And this is just in the short time that J.B. Pritzker's been in office. I mean, not just a 1% increase, but a 32%. I mean, we have to stand up. We have to wake up, and it's now to take action and put someone certified who's an actual accountant in the comptroller's position, who has proven leadership. And now in my county, we have no debt because of fiscal accountability. And we need this for the state of Illinois.
Yeah. Excellent. Hey, let's roll another one of these videos. I hope I got the right one. This is either one of these will be the comptroller in her own words, kind of talking about the current situation. Actually, guys, I think I want to play a different one than this. So bear with me as we scroll through and try to find it. Either way, we're going to play one or the other. Here we go. This isn't the one I wanted to pull up, but this is the one we're going to play.
And where is that $16.7 billion backlog of unpaid bills?
Okay, we saw
It's
that.
gone. We now have a working accounts payable that floats between $2 and $3 billion. In fact, it was down to $1.7 billion, as you can see.
All right. So we've seen that one, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Don't try this.
Well,
We got the yeah.
Leave this to the professionals.
Well, it's okay. Oh, this is fine. We'll make this work.
There we go. Let's try. I think this is a different one. Let's give this a try.
And did I mention in the middle of a global pandemic, there is nothing we can't do in the state of Illinois. And where is that 16 point?
Well, we seem to keep having the same one. I'm not really sure what's going on there. So anyhow, all right.
Let's throw a slide up.
All right. This is should be the one showing kind of the current financial condition of the state of Illinois. And let's give this a try. All right. Can you see that all right, everyone?
You bet.
All right. Red ink.
So,
I'm going
So
to try to
Shannon,
expand. I'm sorry. Go ahead, guys. I'm going to try to expand this slide a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. I think we'll still be able to communicate with everybody, but our video may not be up there. All right.
That
Can
looks
everybody?
good.
That look all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Shannon?
so I can
Anybody want to speak to
jump
this?
in. So Illinois right now, it has the worst net position. So what does that mean? It means the net worth of the state is negative 199 billion. And this is reflected. We have the worst bond rating in the nation right now, and they're campaigning on it. And so you could see that we're even worse than New Jersey and Connecticut, all these other states, because we don't have proper financial leadership. And the comptroller's position should be working with all the state departments per statute to do business differently. It's not just an administrative role of paying bills, but it's overall is a CFO and should be providing leadership statewide. And so what does it mean, that the state has negative net worth? I mean, how will that impact the taxpayers? And it means that our taxes are going to go up. We are paying interest. Significant amount of our taxpayer money is going to interest, and not to schools and education and roads and things that impact the day-to-day lives of Illinoisans. And we are seeing that our property taxes are going up, our sales taxes, our gas tax is going up. And overall, we are the highest tax state in the nation because of J.B. Pritzker and Susana Mendoza and their fiscal mismanagement. If this was a corporation, Susana Mendoza would not even get a job interview. They would look at her resume and realize she has no clue what she's talking about. She doesn't know the difference between a balance sheet or a bus schedule. I mean, this is ridiculous. Why do we want a comptroller that is not qualified in handling our money when we have an opportunity to put someone who's actually certified, who's prepared government-wide financial statements and can get the job done? So that's what I'm going to do for the taxpayers is actually Mendoza is putting out financial statements that have an adverse negative opinion, which means in a Fortune 500 company, their stock would go to zero. If you cannot rely on the financial statements, they would not get stocks. People would not want to invest in their company. If you had a business, you would not get loans. If you're a local government, yeah,
which is exactly what's happening here in Illinois. I mean, corporations, large corporations aren't, dumb, and they have the ability to look around and see what's going on financially in this state. And I think that's part of the reason. I know we talk about crime and whatnot, but I think taxes, it's like, they see that somebody is going to be left holding the bag at some point.
Right.
Somebody's going to be left holding the bag. And I think they're getting up from the table and moving along because they don't want to be the last ones here. And is that kind of what you see as the future for Illinois if we don't get this problem under control and start paying down our debt?
Absolutely. So I'm a mom of two boys, Chase, who's 13, and Luke, and I've lived in Illinois my whole life. And if we don't figure it out now, our children are going to be paying for this. They're not going to be able to raise children here because the cost of living will be so high. Property taxes and their home values will be extremely low. And they will be forced to move out of the state and not raise their children and grandchildren here, because we're going to be paying for this debt for generations to come. And that's the impact of the decisions that Mike Madigan and his protege, Susana Mendoza, and J.B. Pritzker, he put him there too. And his leadership has gotten to us is lies, fiscal mismanagement, and more corruption. And the indictments are going to keep coming because they are not taking that seriously.
Excellent points. Shannon, I've got another slide here. This is kind of talks about Illinois' nation is the second worst position per capita. This brings it down to every individual in the nation. Can you kind of speak to this slide a little bit?
Absolutely. So this demonstrates that even the amount of population we have in Illinois, we have a responsibility in the tens of thousands of dollars. Each household will bear the burden of this debt. And other states, they can spend a lot less of their daily income on this financial burden that has been shoved down on the taxpayers. And what they're essentially doing with the state finances right now is paying down one credit card, but then opening up 25 more, but hiding them under their mattress so no one can see them, and depicting this false sense of reality. They were only talking about 8% of the government operations because they have nothing else to talk about. There is only fiscal mismanagement, and it's not just that, it's fraudulent claims going out because they have no clue what they're doing. And I think you guys mentioned it, is vendors, really good vendors, don't want to work with the state because they don't know if they're going to get paid. They don't know if the state is going to be accountable to these vendors. And so we get the bottom of the barrel vendors working with the state because they're not taking finances seriously. We're the worst run organization probably in the nation right now. And it's time for us to wake up and taxpayers to rise up and care about our children's future.
Exactly. Gentlemen, any thoughts there? We'll go to another slide unless you have any thoughts that want to add on to that.
I was just wondering if you feel like that in all of the advertising and commercials we see, do you think that they're being honest and transparent in what they're telling the citizens of Illinois about the condition of the state and what's really going on?
They're lying. It's egregious lying is what's going on. We have the worst bond rating in the nation, and they're taking credit for federal COVID money due to a pandemic. Unless they're saying they caused the pandemic, I don't see how they can take credit for anything of what they're campaigning on. And it's egregious. And from a financial standpoint, as a CPA and a professional, I've never seen financial statements like the state of Illinois. It is literally like my child made up accounting and pick whatever fiscal year you want. Whether it doesn't look good to put that debt in this year. Usually when entries are recorded after the financial statements close, it's called subsequent events. And it just lists pages and pages of new debt they're taking on. And they would need to do a press release every week of the new debt they're taking on that the Illinois residents don't know about and are going to need to pay for. But you need to do that when you're playing a shell game with money and not being honest.
Yeah.
So exactly. It'd be fair to say that they're just running a campaign of misinformation, trying to pull the wool over the taxpayers' eyes and not really being forthright and honest with them.
You're totally correct.
Okay.
Hey guys, let's look at this next slide here real quick. How's that? You see that?
Oh, yeah. Are you sure we want to look at that?
This is the true reality. This is what they should be putting on their commercials. This is their financial achievement. And Mendoza, as a state rep, is to blame for it because she approved these unbalanced budgets. She looked up to Mike Madigan. She encouraged him to continue leading down this path. And this is where it's gotten it. You know, she actually tried to say the reason there's a decrease, there's a decrease every year under her term and J.B. Pritzker, was a GASB pronouncement. I'm like, I've actually implemented that GASB, and that's not the main cause of what's going on. That doesn't account for year after year of financial declines. So this is just heartbreaking that we have an opportunity to change that in this election, and we cannot choose corruption and fiscal mismanagement over and over again, because it's going to continue to catch up. And we're seeing it. There's foreclosures, people are moving, and the trend is just continuing.
Yeah. So all those slides show painted a very dark picture. $199 billion in the red. You know, claiming all kinds of victory with the debt pay down and the bills being paid on time. And this is all on the heels of this $185 or $186 billion worth of federal dollars that are our tax dollars or printed money that has flowed into this state at multiple levels. And the administration, led by Susana Mendoza, is leading the charge to say, hey, look, we've done all kinds of financial wizardry and we've solved all these problems. There's nothing to see here. Move along. Is that kind of how it looks like? Is that what's being the story that's being told?
Yeah, they are basically trying to trick, because she's not qualified and she shouldn't be in office in the comptroller's position. She's managing an army of accountants. And so she has to make up some financial wizardry of talking about a tiny piece of the state government operations, because the overall financial health is literally walking off a cliff. And, you know, it's our children and who's going to be impacted by this. Yeah, and it's absolutely just a financial shell game that they're playing with our money.
Right, exactly. Guys, I think we've been into this about 26 or 7 minutes. Shannon, have we left anything out? Or gentlemen, is there any closing questions or thoughts that you might have before we go and kind of make a round robin and close out the conversation here? I don't want to cut it off too short, but now's the time. I'm out of slides and out of video. And so let's kind of hear your thoughts, guys.
I have I guess a question, Shannon, and we talk about our financial position. We've gotten these credit upgrades, I guess 6 of them here in the last couple of years. Don't these credit companies know what's going on? I mean, do these rate Moody's or whoever it is? I mean, don't they know? I mean, really, the truth? And then, so why are they giving us these credit upgrades?
That's a great point. And what is happening is she's trying to claim that it was not the federal COVID money, because she got the upgrade 10 days before she got the cash in hand. That's called cash accounting, that you record it when you receive it. But the true reality is, like a homeowner, if your boss calls you up and says, hey, you just got a bonus, you got an extra $5,000 for Christmas spending, and you will get it 2 days before Christmas, what are you going to do? You're going to go out and you're going to spend the money as if you have it, and you'll pay it later. And that's what they essentially did. They are allowed to record that they're going to get the money well before they receive it. And so that impacted these upgrades, is these additional revenue flowing into the state, temporarily popping up. But we see that the Illinois is significantly lagging in the Midwest compared to other states, and across the nation as well, is that our economy is lagging because of their decisions and management on the financial level.
And when we talk about this debt, I guess when you're elected, what can you do? I mean, what really can you do as our comptroller to make things different?
There'll be a multi-phase approach. I mean, immediately I will be looking through all the state finances, fee structures, and seeing where we can make a change. And in my professional career, it's not cutting services, it's actually just looking at where is the waste. And I plan as the next comptroller to not just audit the bills, but doing a statewide initiative, working with the Inspector General's office and tasking every taxpayer, business, vendor, not-for-profit that works with the state. Let's all work together and find the fraud, waste, and abuse and promote the hotline. The largest amount of tips are found with people reporting it. People want to change. There is a thirst and a desire to do business differently on the state level. And so I will lead that initiative statewide, working with the General Assembly to address the waste. And in a small amount of time, the state can be turned around. And I've seen this. We had a nursing home in the red that we were going to sell it. We were not making enough money. We were having to tax to keep it to afloat. And in 10 years, we were able to have so much money. We were building a dementia ward and rebated money back to the taxpayers. And that was just changing common sense, proper financial management. And that's what can be done for the state of Illinois. We all know, we've heard stories about the mismanagement and people not working and people not effectively doing their jobs and vendors. We just saw $457 million go out in fraudulent claims that should have been going to Illinois residents. So this is what the chief accountant of the state should be doing. And it's on Susana Mendoza. All those issues is not taking leadership and accountability. The buck will stop with me as the next comptroller.
Yeah, and you talked about all these credit upgrades that the governor is bragging about. Aren't we still the worst in the nation or nearly the worst in the nation for credit ratings, Shannon? I mean, I think the bragging about 6 credit upgrades and still being nearly the worst in the nation.
Yeah. I looked because I was like, surely we have improved if they're bragging about it and doing victory laps and campaigning on it. But lo and behold, we are still the very worst state in the nation. Everyone got federal COVID money, and we are still lagging every state because we have not changed our approach. We are doing the same politics. We just saw Susana Mendoza can't run on her qualifications. She has to buy everyone's vote. She just put out a rebate to the taxpayer, but it's at a cost. It's election gimmick and political gimmicks to buy your vote with your own money, but there's a cost of processing it right now versus doing it in your tax return. So they're not thinking about the long-term effects on state government. They're thinking, how can I control and keep my power in the comptroller's office? When that power doesn't belong to them, it belongs to the people, and we need to make decisions on what's best for the people.
Yeah, exactly right. And you talk about the tax rebates and the gimmickry and the like. Blaine or Adam or Chris, 2 years ago, the governor wanted to change the tax structure from a flat to a graduated tax deal. The sky was going to fall if we didn't change this tax deal. It was going to be a $3 billion tax increase to all of us that year alone. But suddenly, since it didn't pass, 2 years later, tax rebates, $100 to every child in the state, every $50 every adult, a 5% property tax rebate. All of a sudden, these things are good things. You guys have any thoughts about that? And we'll come back to Shannon to have her weigh in on that.
Well, real quickly, Brad, yes. According to Illinois policy, just to know, your taxes have gone up $2,200 since the governor has taken office. So $100 here and there, and a suspension of the gas tax increase. Whenever we're promoting legislation for suspending the gas tax for 4 months, we're talking about fiscal reforms that will actually benefit working class citizens citizens in the state of Illinois. And as the only thing that the Democrats, the governor, seem to be able to offer are election gimmick, money management, or band-aid accounting. And that's absolutely what we don't need here in the state.
Exactly. Chris, any thoughts on this matter? They've pushed off the gas tax. It was to happen the 1st of July. It's now going to be January 1st. So guess what? We get 2 gas tax increases next year, one in January and one in the 1st of July.
I think that it's extremely important for the voters to look at what has happened critically and to not be deceived by the propaganda machine that they'll spend millions of dollars trying to convince you that they've done a wonderful job. And the reality is what they brought us is more taxes, more borrowing, more spending with no real reforms, no real solutions. So it's important to remember that when you go to the polls here in a couple of weeks, quite honestly, when they have a press conference, it seems to me like they ought to begin by making a statement, once upon a time, because a lot of what they're doing is just a good old fashioned fairy with pixie dust and unicorns and little rainbows. And so, and nothing is reality based. It's all spin and it's all smoke and mirrors. And be smart enough to figure it out and don't vote for these rascals.
Yeah, and all the while, our state is becoming less and less safe, or let me say our citizens in this great state are becoming less and less safe. And the students' scores that they're earning in these public schools are going the wrong way. And, Dan, we've talked about Decatur. We've had the experts in kind of talking about that. That's just one example out of hundreds across the state of Illinois when it comes to the way the schools are being done.
Well, we pay an exorbitant amount for our schools per student, and in a lot of places, they can do things for less, and we need, excuse me, we need to look at consolidating a lot of the top stuff. I want to get to Shannon. When we get a budget every year, what would be the role of the comptroller when the Democrats have every year have produced a budget in the House? I mean, how do you envision yourself in that process?
I would be extremely involved because as the chief accountant of the state, I understand the true reality and I have the government experience to understand how those specific revenue funds should be handled, the agency funds, what are the rules around each one of those funds. And so I would be guiding them and really explaining the true financial position of each fund and not just throwing money in one rainy day fund, but letting the General Assembly set what is really needed for reserves in each fund, not just one fund, but each fund to maintain operations and to provide fiscal health. And where is it needed the most to spend the money? As someone who's certified in risk management assurance, I would identify what are the major risks of the organization and how can we be proactive working together to address these risks and to reduce the overall costs to the organization and putting together a budget that actually includes the liabilities that they're keeping out. And the true reality is the financial statements show that they didn't approve balanced budgets. So we would have a hard conversation about putting together a true balanced budget that is addressing this reforms and where can we make changes. And so very, very involved with the General Assembly because there's been a complete lack of financial leadership.
Very good.
Yeah, exactly right. Dan, any closing comments before we'll wrap this up here momentarily? Any last thoughts before we pass it around the room and conclude for the evening?
Well, thanks. And Shannon, thank you very much for joining us this evening. For everybody that's paying attention here and listening tonight, you can help us you can help Shannon. Share this out, put this on your page, copy, paste, and email, whatever it takes. This is a huge issue. And if we don't get our arms around this, that credit rating is not going to go up. It's going to go down. And when it goes down to junk status, then our property taxes, well, our income taxes and sales taxes, and I mean, everything's going to go up, because that's the only way we're going to pay this back, is you and I are going to have to pay back to our debtors, to the people that are buying our bad debt, which kind of surprises me that anybody'd want to have Illinois bonds. We're going to pay for it. We've got to stop this. And Shannon, I applaud you for stepping up. This is the first time that we've had anybody running for that office that actually knows how to read a financial statement, actually knows how to do this. We tried to, you all remember Adam Andrzejewski when he ran. He wanted to do a forensic audit of our finances. And Mike Madigan figured out a way to keep him out of office. So we need to work hard, Shannon. Thank you. Everybody, appreciate you being here tonight.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Dan. Adam, any closing thoughts or points?
Yes, I just want to thank Shannon for coming on with us. The Democrats, one thing they're really good at is manufacturing a crisis. And this COVID pandemic, we've seen that with the bills that have been introduced from the Safety Act, all in with some form of a solution that we all know is not school problems here in the state of Illinois. So you heard Shannon talk about the fact that she is a CPA, that she is a forensic accountant. And folks, that's very important aspect of this. And we discussed Adam Andrzejewski. Dan alluded to that just a moment. Forensic audit bill for all state hiring and procurement for the last 2 years, but it did not receive any notification on the House floor. These things are being hidden from you. These financial statements are being hidden from you. Mirrors, so to speak, of the Illinois fiscal mess is being hidden for Shannon Teresi for Comptroller is a vote for every one of us here in the state of Illinois. The work fiscal sanity brought back to the state of Illinois. It'll be my pleasure to work Comptroller. So vote for Shannon Teresi here on November 8th. Let's send the message to the Democrats. Madness stops now.
Excellent. Chris Miller, the chairman of the Illinois Freedom Caucus. Any closing thoughts?
No, I think it's really important to have this conversation about these issues, and it's great to have everybody come on and participate. And hopefully the people that tuned in and watched this will be more informed and more educated as we move forward. I know Dan mentioned about a forensic audit. I know Adam, Bill last time, and several of us signed on to it. In order to fix a problem, you actually have to drill down and find out what the problem really is. And the only way to do that, I know, is have a forensic audit so you can find out where the problems are, where the waste and abuse is taking place, and then take the proper steps to fix the problem. And I know when the bill got introduced that the Dems were totally, and several Republicans were totally freaking out. Oh, we can't afford to have a forensic audit. I mean, you want to talk about the biggest bunch of crap that ever hit the fan, was the idea, oh, we can't take time to find out where the money's going in Illinois. They're probably scared to death at the thought of finding out where the money's actually going and spent. And so one thing that I think that we should demand, and it would be a great campaign promise, is that we're going to have a forensic audit in the state of Illinois to define where all this stuff is going. And who knows where the cockroach will be running when that happens, because we see a new indictment every day. So it could be real entertaining to see what happens as a result of that. So anyway, that's all I got.
Excellent, Chris. Thank you. And I think that your use of the English language would make the Representative Cunningham from Lawrenceville proud here this evening. So with that, Shannon, I'm going to give you the last word to make a few closing comments. And I'm sure you're going to want to ask people to get out and vote for you if they're early voting or vote by mail or on polling day, November the 8th. And then I'll wrap it up and we'll close it out and head home.
Thank you so much for having me on. And it's just important to get the word out about the true reality of the state's finances and that we have an opportunity. This is a slam dunk. If you're Republican or Democrat, we need to change this state for our children and put an actual accountant in the comptroller's position versus a career politician. And I really need everyone's support to get this done because the corrupt political machine is pushing hard against it. And thank you all. God bless. God bless Illinois. Pray every day because we need change. And I ask for everyone's vote this November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon, for coming on with us tonight. And I would just urge everyone to plug in every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Always something a little bit different. We're trying to do these live streams, and that helps us to get it done once a week. Next week, I just want to make an announcement at this same time at 7 o'clock live stream. We're going to have the Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs of the House Freedom Caucus will be with us, hopefully, if everything goes well. And so we've got some more things planned as we head towards Thanksgiving. And I'm not sure what we got planned for December, but we have some things planned for November. So with that, guys, we thank you all for tuning in. Again, we always covet that you like and share and subscribe and follow us. Get the word out to all your friends and neighbors. Thanks and have a great evening.